Mesechta Avoda Zara Daf Mem Beis Amid Beis, the second line from the bottom, and today's Daf Mem Gimel, but we're starting from Mem Beis Amid Beis, the second line from the bottom. Okay, yesterday we had learned that we learned that Sheshis accumulated all the hard brises, and amongst them was the one that he mentioned yesterday. All the mazolis, there's three parts of that brisa. Kol mazolis mutarim chutz mazol chamo lavana. All mazolis are mutter except for the mazal of the sun and the lavana. That's one. One second. So now mazolis are the higher level, is the mother ha'elyon. Then b'chol ha'partzufim, all the faces are mutter except chutz mepatz of adam, except for the face of a person. That's two. And the chol hatzuris mutar is chutz mitzura as drakein. And all forms are mutar except for the tzura of a dragon. Why is it called tzura by dragons and why is it called patzu by adam? Because it's not the same dimension. By the head is not the same dimension as the body. But when it comes to like a snake or the dragon, the head and the body is all the same. It's like all one part.
The symmetry.
Yeah. Symmetry is the same. Okay, so yesterday we learned, what does it mean in the first part of the Braisa that all the mazolis are mutter except for the mazal acham lavana. So we said it can.
Mutter meaning that you can.
So what does it mean mutter? Mutter also. What are we talking about? Is it talking about carving it out, actually carving it out? Says the Gemara, if it's actually carving it out, how could you say that all the mazolis are mutter? Anything that you carve out is forbidden. It says lo yisasin ite lekei kaz v'lekei zav. Any the kechavim, if it's the stars, anything of the, what do they call it, celestial, anything that serves Hashem and Lamaila, the stars, aside from the moon, is Avoda Zara. If you're talking about carving it out,
But the moon and the sun is no problem.
It's always usher. That's going to be usher. We said.
Wait, the moon and the sun is usher.
Usher, but everything else, the stars is mutter. Whatever is Lamaila, the only two that are us is the sun and the Lavana.
They worship the stars.
So he says carving it out is forbidden. Anything that has to do with carving, that's something that serves Hashem, and serves for Hashem, is forbidden. So you cannot be talking about, when you're only excluding the sun and the moon, you cannot be talking about that the issue of carving out, because the issue of carving out is applicable to all, including Keicham, not just to the sun and the moon. So we're not talking about carving it out, we're talking about somebody who found the Keli, or somebody who found these images. So the only ones that he's not allowed to keep is the sun and the Levana. So the first part of the Braisa is talking about finding, not carving out. Says the Gemara, if you're talking about that he's finding, look in the middle case. It says kol ha-partzufis. It says all the faces are mutter except for parts of Adam. Now, if you're talking about finding, somebody finds a cup with or a statue of Trump. Yeah. So is it also? It shouldn't be. If you found it, we said somebody who finds kalim, and on it is the tzura of the sun or the moon or a dragon, those you have to bring it to the Yam HaMelech and get rid of it. Kalim is vessels, a cup or whatever it is. Yes, those are the only three that you have to throw out. Other than that, you can hold on to it. So
Even if it has stars on it?
Even if it has Trump on it. Yeah, even if it has the stars on it. Yes. The only three that is the sun and the moon and the dragon. So how could you say it's talking about by finding? By finding, the parts of Adam should be permissible if we're talking about finding. So it's for sure that middle case is not talking about finding. It's talking about carving it out and making an image. That's forbidden. It's forbidden to make parts of Adam. And like Avoda Yeshua explained, because that the person Adam Nasib B'Tzelem, a person was made in the form of Hashem, and it says specialis in the image of Hashem, and therefore that's a specialisa. Says Yimara, so you're talking about carving out? So look in the last case, the third case, you said all tsures, all forms are mutter except for a dragon, the form of a dragon. If you're talking about carving out, kol atzuris mutaris except for carving out, except for drakain, says Gemara, the only ones that we said actually doing a carving out, the only carve outs that are forbidden are those that serve the service for Hashem, like the sun, the moon, the klichavim, but not a dragon. A dragon is mutter. So how could you say you're talking about the actual carving out? And that's what the kasha is here. In fact, you better Ibais, up to the second line from the bottom. Ibais, right at the beginning of the line, in the regular Yemadas. Ibais, if we're talking about now that he's carving out the images, Ema Sefer, it says in the Sefer of the Braisa, Kol Atzuris Mutaris, all forms are mutter, chutz mitzudas drakain, except forming the form of, or the image of a dragon. If you're talking about that he actually is carving, you're talking about carving? Carving tzudas drakain also? Carving out the form of a dragon, is that usher? It says the only things that are usher is lo yisasun iti elakei kes elakei zav. So only those that are service of Hashem, like the sun, the moon, the kechavim. A dragon is no service of Hashem, so that should be mutter. Says Gemara,
It's made of silver or gold.
lo yisasin iti elakei kes elakei zav.
So he's not talking about.
No, so it says anything iti. Iti, it could have said, so the medai, it could have said imi. Lo yisasun imi elakei. Why does he use the lashon iti? Iti, because you can read oisa, those that serve. Let me see, in 33 he brought it down before. 33 he says the kavana lo yisasun dvarim asher hinam iti. So he says because. Okay, here he says no. It's iti. He put an asnachta there, and the words are coming to tell you that anything that's like a service for Hashem, that's with Hashem, that serves Hashem, those you're not allowed to make. But a drakain has nothing to do with the service of Hashem. It should be mutter. The lois sasun means the actual carving, and the actual carving is only those that serve Hashem. Those images that serve Hashem, you're not allowed to carve out. Says the Gemara, Haniin, only those that serve Bamarim is forbidden. Tzudas draken loy, but the form, to carve out the form of a dragon, there's no Isser. Says the Gemara, you're right. Elapshita b'meitza. Only here, the last case, we have to say it's a case where he found a keli or image of a dragon, and he's come to tell you that it's also. It's not like we learned in the Mishnah. A meitza keli ma'alei tzudas chama or tzudas lavana or tzudas draken yoylichen liyam hamelach. That was the Mishnah that we learned before. Somebody who finds vessels and on it has the images of the sun or the moon or even the dragon, you have to turn to the Yam HaMelech. So that's by Moitza. In fact, this is funny. The Reisha, you said it, we concluded it has to be Moitza. The Seifa, we just concluded it has to be a case where he found it. And Mitziyasa, the case with the parts of Adam, could only be where he actually carves it out. So it says the Gemara, you're going to say it's not universal. So the Mishnah is talking about all different cases here. The beginning and the end is Moitza. The middle is Oisa. What's going on? You could have that. Moitza is also even the Drakain, and
Why is it also? Find it.
You're not allowed to keep it. It's Avoda zara because they serve the Avoda zara.
But if you go and
You're carving it, so you're not laved up. If you carve it out, it's laved up to Avoda zara. He's not going through this now. He wants for linoi, for the beauty. Okay, says the Yemada, that's a bias pinch. Rava says, no, you don't have to explain the Braisa. The Reisha, the Sefer is Moitza. The Mitzias, the middle of the case, is Oisa. Well, you can say Kula, the Moitza. All the cases are talking about the same. It's universal. The case where he finds it. And including Umitziyasa, you had the case, the middle case, we had a problem. What was the parts of Adam? You said all parts of is mutter except for parts of Adam, and parts of Adam is also l'chera. Why? We said the only things that are forbidden to carve out are those that are mishamish for Hashem, right? It's served. So he says, we learn by Isa, all mazolis are aser. All. Not just the parts of Adam. So what are we going to answer for that? Says, Gimon Rabbi Yehuda, follows Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya that we learned in Rabbi Isa, that parts of Adam is going to be aser, right? By Moitza. By Moitza, if it's Moitza, we said again, if we're learning the middle cases by Moitza, so we said Kol HaPatzuf is mutarim, chutz me parts of Adam. But Moitza, parts of Adam should be mutter, right? By Moitza we said parts of Adam, all Patzufis are mutter except for parts of Adam. Why should there be exception by Moitza about the Patzufis? Only by parts of Adam should be.
How you defining patzufim? The kolach patzufim?
Yeah,
What is that?
he's going to say later. There's Malach Yasharis, had Patzufim.
Pictures of angels.
Angels, it says that angels were the form of a man with wings. The Gemara is going to say later. The Rashi will say, explain it. But anyway, so he's saying that the Patzufim, you explain in the middle case, all Patzufim are mutanim except parts of Adam. But if you're talking about the Moitza, why should a parts of Adam be Aser? If it's B'Moitza, we learned the only ones that are Aser are the Chama Levana and the dragon. Those are the only ones. Everything else should be Mutter. So why are you saying the parts of Adam is Aser? So he says we follow Rabbi Yehuda who adds parts of Adam. He adds also by Moitza that aside from the Chama Levana and the dragon, you have to add Adam also. Where do we see that? Tanya, we learned Rabbi Yehuda Meisif. Rabbi Yehuda added to the tzureis that one who finds it, that's going to be Aser. After this manika of image of a woman who's nursing a child, and the sar apis. Sar apis means a minister who gives food, which is referring to Yosef. The Gemara says, Meinika, why did he ask these two? Meinika al shem chavash meinika es kol olam kulei. Because they looked at it as Avoda zara, because they look at it that she does the whole world. And what Sar Apis? Sar Apis was a getchke. We call it Sar Ephes, the minister of nothing. But Sar Apis, but it is an idol. What was the idol about? Al Shem Yosef. On the name of Yosef, Shahayasai, he was a minister, a viceroy. Umeifis is Kol Olam Kulei. And he appeased and calmed down the whole world in the years of their hunger. He was the one that gave food. Vahu, and the Gemara explains, the Naked Griva V'Kokayil, that the image had to be an image of Yosef, let's say, with a measuring cup, to show that he's the one that measured the food and gave the food to everybody. And this that we said about Chava Menika is only the Nokta Bain Ukamanika. It had to be an image of a woman holding on to the son, nursing. That's the only type of an image that will be forbidden. When we said
The woman's samazah is not.
there's not, and without a measuring cup or a measuring stick, if the image of it was of Yosef, it's not a getchke. Only if it's an image of a person with a measuring stick that measured, which was used to measure the wheat. Let's say it was a cup, so they had a cup on his head. Besides his image, he had a measuring cup on the top of his head,
That's also.
and that's also. But if there was no measuring cup, there was nothing like anything to do with a measuring the image, then it's mutter. So like,
Why do they make such an image? For
for like a getchke, because he provided.
No,
He
but
was the
doesn't-
god
he
of
said
the.
Only when a cup is, it becomes also.
Right.
But if it's not,
Then it's for beauty. But they make it like a Mount Rushmore, right? Okay. So like, you want to what is the form of a draken, of a dragon? Pirush Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. Kol sheyesh leitzitzim be'prokov. Any image that of a dragon, but that has fins in the back, at the vertebrae, has like pieces sticking out.
Dragon.
A dragon has to have pieces sticking out by the vertebrae, huh?
Protruding out of his
Neck and the back. Kol sheyesh leitzitzim be'prokov. Machle Rabbi Yassi ben Pirkei Tzava. Rabbi Ava showed with his hand only by the neck, from the neck and up. It had these pieces sticking out.
How do you know all this stuff?
I don't know. Rabbi Chama, Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina said, that dafke those, only if it has those fins sticking out, only that type of image is going to be usher as a dragon. Rabbi Yishua ben Levi. Rabbi Chana said in the name of Rabbi Yishua ben Levi, Pam achas ha'yismi ha'alech achar Rabbi Lazar ha'kapa beribi. One time I was following Rabbi Lazar ha'kapa in the city of Ribi. 12, that's what he says, Beribi ha'gadol. No, Beribi ha'gadol means, I'm sorry, not in the city of Ribi. Ribi is describing that he was a great person. And that's why we use the Lashon Beribi. We only use it for great people. So Rabbi Lezer HaKappa Beribi, the great Rabbi Lezer HaKappa. So, but he was going after Rabbi Lezer HaKappa by derech on a journey. And Matzah Sham Tabas, and Rabbi Chana says that he found Rabbi Lezer HaKappa found a beautiful ring, but on the ring there was the form of a dragon. He's afraid to pick it up because it's not his. He's not allowed to keep such a thing. It's Avoda zara. Umatzah cotton, and he found a little goy, a cotton. The goy said no, no. He didn't tell him anything. He let the little goy go away. He was a cotton. He found an adult goy. He says, "Be mavatalit. This ring, make it ois Avoda zara." He told him, "Say you don't want it." He gave it to him and said, "Be mavatalit." The guy didn't want. Story. Rabbi Lezer HaKappa, he gave him a whack in the face. And then he was mavatalit. Yeah, there was a story. There was making a whole tumult in the bank. I said it one time. And he came to in the bank and he says, I need a loan of $100,000. We can't give you. Credit doesn't show. He starts, $100,000. I need a loan. And he's tumbling. The manager says, "What's the problem?" They say he's making such a tumult. We're losing customers with him. He says, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." He says, "Come to my office." And he comes out from the office. He straightens out his jacket. He has a nice black and blue eye.
What?
He comes out of the manager's office with a black and blue eye, and he says, and he's quiet. And he's walking out of the bank quietly. Somebody ran after him and says, "What happened?" He says, "The first guys were only telling me. The manager explained it to me." He says, so over here, at the Yabmaka Tazetz, and he was Mavatalit. Shmami no Tlas. From here we learn out three things. Shmami no Mavatal. Number one, we learn out a goy could be Mavatal, like we learned yesterday. It doesn't even have to be an idol that he serves. He could be Mavatal somebody else's Avodah Zarah by breaking it or doing something. Nullifying it. Over here, you just have to poke out an eye or do whatever, do something of a break to show that you're nullifying it. Somebody who knows about Avodah Zarah, he's the type of a person that can be mavatal it. Like here, the cotton didn't know. That's why he didn't want to let the cotton go. Maybe if the cotton would have understood.
So Avraham Avinu knew about Avodah Zarah, right?
Yeah.
What's
A
a cotton?
cotton, a miner. But if the miner would have understood it about Avodah Zarah, maybe he could use it. We also learn out that Eidik Chacham could be mevatel against the will, meaning that he forced the guy. He gave him a whack in his face, and he forced him to be mevatel. Yeah, a black and a shiny blue eye. Okay. Megadav bar Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina was like, I don't want to say cursed, but he was wondering what's going on here. The less later, yeah, he could force the guy to be mevatel for him. In fact, whatever. Less later, Ablaza Akapa Beribi Hadit Nan doesn't Ablaza Akapa hold this of the Mishnah. Hamatzim and Harim and Adev and Anam and Agayas. Somebody who saves an object from a lion, from a bear, from a leopard, or from chayolim that come to grab the spoils, to steal the spoils, from an anar, and from a flooding of a river, shalyam, and from the tide of the yam, and from the overflowing of the river. If somebody saves something from there, somebody who finds something on the highway between the two cities, or in the plaza, Uflatje gedelo, he finds something in a big plaza. Ubechol makom sharab mitzuyim sham. Or in any place where there are many, many people, harei shalai. Because he doesn't even have to return it. He was miyash. Mipnei shabi olam is yashman. Because the owners had given up hope. So what's the problem? Why does he have to go be mavatl? It's abscare. Amabaya, no. Nehi the mino miyayish. Even though Hitaka was miyayish, he gave up. He's never going to find it. Yes, it's hefker. Oh, but Mesurmi miyayish, did he give up? Did he say, I don't want the is in that object? No. Maybe oh, good. Maybe he will say, the guy will say, if a guy finds it, he'll serve the idols. If a Yid finds it, the Yid will say, it's a tire zach. It's a very, I got to make money on it. He'll sell it to the guy, and the guy will serve the idols. That's the cheshbon of the guy. But he never was mabatal from Avoda zara. So you're not. No, so that's why you needed the guy. It's a goy. A goy is making a cheshbon that the Yid is for sure going to sell it to a guy to make money. He's not going to want to have these images. So he never got removed the Isser. That's why Rabbi Lezer HaKappa forced the guy to be mevatel it. Says the Gemara Tanakh Hasan, we learned there in the Mishnah Rosh Hashanah, the mus of Tzuris Levanis. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel had a board of different forms of the Levana, how it could look. He had it in his attic, on a board, on his wall. He would show it to the Edom that came to testify in the new Levana. Is this what you saw, or this what you saw? In order to make sure that the Edom are good to Edom. So he had to show them what was the image. He would say to them, you see like this image or like that image? So how was he Mishari? Was he allowed to have these images? We said you're not allowed to make any images of a Levana. We learned before you're not allowed to make images of that serves Hashem. They only answered what kind of images are forbidden. Only those that you can mimic exactly. But the sun, you cannot mimic the sun. The sun, I think, was like 900,000 times bigger than the earth, or a million, or close to that. You have to ask Pollock. He told Mr. Pollock. You had Mr. Pollock? Lambert. The English. Anyway.
Yeah, but it's 93 million miles away from Earth.
Yeah, but I'm saying the how big it was. It's 900,000 times, I think, if I'm not mistaken. 900,000 times bigger than the earth.
Wow.
So that you can make. So, Tanya, like we learned in the Braise, you can look up on your phone. See, lo yasa adam bayis betavnas heichel. A person should. Where's the Yisur? Heichel is taka also. Here you see the heichel, the Beis Hamikdash, was also like a shamish for the Eibishter, was serving for Hashem. So a person is not allowed to make the image. Let's say he's not allowed to buy land in Miami and build a beautiful Beis Hamikdash with the same dimensions of the Beis Hamikdash. It'll be a beautiful house, but you're not allowed to do. Yeah. Okay, then Makim HaKadosh. Okay, Tav Seichel. Ulam Shamigdash, and the Ulam, the Aksada was open from three sides. I mean, closed from three sides. Only on one side it was open, like the Ulam. So you're not allowed to do that. Or Chatza, Ketav's Azar, you're not allowed to make a yard with the same dimensions of the Azar that was in the Beis Hamikdash. We're learning now the Seif Hamidus now. And you're not allowed to do the Shulchan in the exact measurements of the Shulchan. You're not allowed to make in your house a table. Oh, this is my table. I'm making the table that was in the Beis Hamikdash. You're not allowed to make it with the exact same dimensions. Now, when it comes to Menorah, we're not talking about dimensions. There's no real dimensions. The Ikki is the branches. What does it mean? You're not allowed to make 7 branches. Right. You can make 5, 6, 8. But the Ulam Menorah Shel Shiva lo yasa. You're not allowed to make. Afilu shel shar minim atachis, even of different metals. That's according to the Chachamim. The Chachamim learn the pasuk vasis Menorah zov toher mikshe toasa Menorah as a klal upratu klal. It says vasis Menorah. You should make a Menorah. That's a klal, any type of Menorah. Zov is a prat dafka gold, and then it says miksha te'asa zameneira, which is again it doesn't say what kind of material, so we say keina prat, like gold, which is metal. But the Rabbi Yehuda af meneira shaleitz lo yasa, because the Rabbi Yosi learns this pasuk as a ribui miyat v'ribui. A ribui miyat v'ribui, you only exclude one thing, something that's the furthest away from gold. What's the furthest away from gold? Earthenware. But wood, you could. So he says even the eighths you can't, because eighths would be included as part of the gold. It's still similar to the gold. So he says, like we find by the Chashmonai, they made it out of wood. The Chacham said, you bring a raya from the Beis Chashmonai, Misham raya, Shaput Mishal Basel. Over there they didn't use wood, they used spits of metal, and they covered it with tin to give it more of a beauty. And when the Chashmonai became more wealthy, they plated it with silver. And then when they became even wealthier, they made a numanoida, they made it out of gold. But B'Pearl Mamish, only these things that you can mimic is asa. But the sun is not something you can mimic, and that's why Rabbi Gamil was able to make the sun, the moon. These are not things that you can mimic. As like the Chamal Lovanim Ishare, you're saying it's mutter because you can't mimic them. But time we learned with finish number Isa, Lo Isasun, Iti Lo Isasun, Kid Mus Shamashe Amshamshun Lafon Mamori, which means it does not have to be exactly. Even making it similar is forbidden. Abaya said Lo Yasa Teira Elabit Mus Abba Pon Bahadi Adodi. The only things that they asked was the four faces, which was it was from four sides. They had four faces: a face of a person, a lion, an ox, and a sheep. It had to be four faces together. That was these four faces were the ones that carried the kisei covered. So it was made in one piece, four faces.
So it was the ox, it was the lion.
Right, the ox, the lion, the person, and the eagle.
Eagle.
Correct. Says Gemara Elamiyata, parts of Adam. What's if lechudei? What's if it's just the face of a person? It's not the four images together. Tishtei, you're going to say it's muta. Alama Tanya, why do we learn in the Brayse Kol HaPatzuk Mutanim Chutz Mi parts of Adam? We learn Befedish even as a parts of Adam alone, on its own, without the other three faces, it's forbidden. Rav Yehuda B'rei Rav Yeshua. Rav Yehuda B'rei Rav Yeshua had learned Mipikid Rav Yeshua Shmieli from the drasha of Rav Yeshua. I had heard Loisasun iti. We learn from the word iti that it could have said imi, but it says iti, that you can read it oisi, Loisasun oisi. So there's a special iser when it comes to the parts of Adam, because a parts of Adam is the tselem of Hashem, is the form of Hashem. Al shamoshim shari, but others, the other shamoshim shabamarim, you're allowed to make an image. Really? You're saying the only issue was by a face of a person, because the Torah said oisi, and a face of a person is similar to Hashem, because Adam b'tzelem Elikim, Nas Adam b'tzelem Elikim, a person is the form of Hashem.
All these statues that made the faces, that's also right.
So he wants to say l'chayra. First, now he wants to say it's mutter, unless it's all those four faces together as what?
Yeah, but now he says even one face.
He says only of a face is us. Yeah, it should be us. A statue of
statue
us.
that you made just has a face.
Yeah, a Yid's not allowed to hold on to such things, right? Shoshamoshim Shari. You're saying the other ones are mutter. If you're saying only the parts of Adam has its special issa of Loisasa Iti, but the other images is mutter. Vatani, we learned in the Brayse Loisasa Iti. Loisasum Kidmus Shamoshim Shamshim Lefanu Bamarim. And what are they? You're not allowed to make any images of these mishamshin yet. And what does he say? What is the mus of a malach? So the Ran says, "Dahainu demuyis adam balois knafayim." That's the mus of a person with wings. That's the malach.
That's not even today. That's what we say. An angel has wings.
Angel has wings. Okay. So Abaya said, even according to the Brayse that says that it's the servants of Morim, like these are the seventh Turkiya, like we learn In Chassidus, the 7th and 6th Rikiya has, we had in the Gemara, it was in the Gemara, I'm sorry, 7th Rikiya, you have all the, like that, like we just said, the Yifanim Sof Mechais HaKodesh, and the 6th Rikiya, you have the Shemesh Ulavana, it's a lower Rikiya. The higher Rikiya is called the Mother Ha'elyon, or, yeah, it's called the Mother Ha'elyon. How about, so you're saying, Lo Yasater Ala Shamoshim Sheba Mother Ha'elyon. How about Sheba Mother Ha'tach B'Shari? But in the lower Rikiyim, you're going to say, is Mutter, like what's in the lower Rikiyim? The sun and the moon. In fact, you want about Tanya, but we learned Meferish from a different pasuk. The pasuk says, Lo Yisasa L'chol Pesel, B'chol Tmuna Asher B'Shemayim, Asher B'Shemayim Mimal, V'Asher B'Aretz Mitachas. So what do we learn out from Asher B'Shemayim, L'Rabbis, that you're not allowed to make Chamo, Lavana, Keichav, Mazalis. So you see, even the Mother HaTachton, you're not allowed to make images of. Mimal, L'Rabbis Malachi Asheris. Mimal comes to teach you those from the upper celestial, I mean the 7th Rikiya. So you see, even the Mother HaTachton, you're not allowed to make images of. Says, you want this that we learned that the sun and the moon is forbidden? Kitanya. When did we learn that? But I said, La'idam, only to serve it as an idol. In fact, if you're talking about to serve as an idol, I feel a shilshul cotton nami. Even shilshul cotton means even a tiny little worm, like we learned yesterday, which was an image for the smaller creatures, a sar for the smaller creatures, is forbidden to serve, to have such an image. So if you want to in a chanami, you're right. And we learned this out from the end of the pasuk, the Tanya that we learned in the Braisa, in the Hemshech of the pasuk. Asher ba'aretz, l'rabis yamim unaharis, seas, rivers, harim, mountains, uvos, and hills, mitachas, l'rabis shilshul katan. And mitachas comes to teach us, even to serve this little worm is forbidden. Images of yamim and haris. Yeah, it's forbidden. It's a shaila. You're not allowed to. You're not. He says you're not allowed to serve it. No, you're not allowed to idolize it. Now he said you're not allowed to.
If you're gonna make it, you might come to.
Oh, okay. Well,
Visualize the picture
of the rivers, that as if the rivers is the god, the water is the god. But see, does be shari. Forming, making them, just making these images. Is that also? If it's not on the condition to idolize them. But Tanya, we learned Nabrais Loisasin Iti, Loisasin Kidmush Shamash Shamashab Lefanim Bamarim, Kigoin Chamo Lobana Kichab Mazalis. So he says, even to make it, you said it to make it to serve as idol. But L'chayra, here we see even just to make it is forbidden. So if you want a shiny Ram Gamil was different. So the question is, it's like checkmate. How was Rabban Gamil allowed to make the images of the, even if it wasn't to serve idols, how was he allowed to have those images of the Levana? Rabban Gamil says he didn't make it. Others made it for him. So he didn't make it. And he used it, and the Gemara about Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda, the Gemara is the others made it for him, and it was a signet ring. And what happened? Rabbi Yehuda, and Shmuel said to Rabbi Yehuda, "Shidin a sharp one, Sami Eini the Dain, poke out the eye of this person, the image that he had, an image of a man on his ring. He says, poke out the eye of it in order that you should be able to keep it. The signet, a signet ring. Yes. So it says, it doesn't mean that it's usher, making the image itself. The reason why the image was usher, because if you have a signet with a raised image, that's considered as Avoda zara. And the people will say, "Oh, Shmuel is walking around with Avoda zara. We shouldn't think that he's serving idols." The Tanya that we learned in Abraisa, a ring that its signet is raised, you're not allowed to put it on your finger. But you could use the seal, because the seal, when it does the seal, it's shakua. How do you concave. How do you say that? It goes in.
Convex?
Convex. I forgot the word. Yeah, is what? How do you say that? It's not concave. It's
Fixed?
no. It goes in. It's not raised. It sinks in. The seal is on the inside, like clay. You push it into clay, so it's not an image that's raised, but it's an image inside. That's permissible. The seal, that seal is mutter. You're allowed to sign it with that. But what's if you have a image that's sunk in?
Can't do it.
That you can wear, but you cannot use. You're not allowed to sign. You're not allowed to push it in clay because you're making a raised signature. It's forbidden to sign with that. In fact, are we then? Are we concerned about what when if Shmuel will wear the ring, people will think he's serving idols? How could you say that? But Beik Nishta the Shafi Yosef. If I have time, I'll tell you which we had this in Megillah, this special shul. It says it had the Avonim from the Beis Hamikdash, and it had the earth of Yerushalayim over there. So and the Shechina came there and didn't want to leave. It was a special shul. Bin Hada, the Hukman Bey Andarta over there. There was a statue right in front of the shul. And the father of Shmuel and Levi were davening there. And we weren't concerned. Maybe they were serving idols. So you see, we're not concerned of that people will think that they're serving idols. Says Gemara Rav Shiny. There, it's a lot of people who joined the shul, so everybody knew it's not for idols. Oh, Rav Gamil the Yachid Abba. In fact, Rav Gamil was a Yachid, and he made the images in his house. Says Gemara keeping the Nasi Ushchichi Rav Gamil. Since he was a leader, there were always people. It was like a shul. There was a constant flow of people over there. Others say, no, it was not image. It was an image made out of a puzzle. He would show, and then he would take it apart. So it wasn't something. It's not a. It doesn't have a din. It's not a real image. He would take it apart right away. Islam and Shani to teach is different. Like we learned, Rabbi Akiva taught. He did the kishuv to show them what kind of kishuv is asr. The time that we learned in Abraisa, lo yisilmad lasis. It says that like tayevas hagoyim, like the magic. But you can learn it, teach it, to make people understand what's mutter, what's asr.
Magic,
Kishuv is magic. Yes. Those tzuris of the sun, the Lvana, and the dragon, we said only if it's on important vessels. What's considered mechubadim and what's not considered special. When if the image is on the top of the cup, on the top above the water from where you drink a little. You don't pour the water over the top for as a Havdalah. You leave some, or it's on the edge of the cup. The images, so that's choshev. But if it's on the bottom of the cup, that's mevuzin. So mevuzin is l'mat min hamayim. It's on the bottom of the cup. Shmuel ha'ma'il ve'elu mevuzin heim. Whether it's on top of the cup, on the bottom of the cup, or where the water is, mevuzin is disgraceful. It's not as special. Yeah, it's not a very special cup. We said images are forbidden on vessels only if it's a chashva vessel. What is a chashva vessel? It says if it's images on the top, then it's good. If it's in the middle or on the bottom, it's not. And Shmuel says both are mavuzin. Only if the images are on the bracelets or nose rings or on regular rings. Those are chashav. Tanya Kabasei the Shmuel. Mechubadim, what's considered as an important vessel that it should be forbidden those images. If the images are shal hasherin on bracelets, on zamin, nose rings, al tabais on finger rings. Mevuzin, what's considered a disgraceful one, shal hayoyres, it's on pots, val kumasim, or on kettles, val bechamim mayim, on these samovars that they heat up water, he keeps it hot. On sheets, and on towels.